A Minute to Midnight is the New York Times bestselling author David Baldacci's next installment of Agent Atlee Pine. And joining me right now is David himself. David, hello.
Hi, Jeff.
Greetings from Las Vegas. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Well, in your new book, A Minute to Midnight, you return to your female lead.
Yeah, she's the first female lead I've had in a series before. I had a lot of female characters in all my novels, but this series really lies on her very broad, capable shoulders. Atlee Pine is an FBI special agent. She has a very tragic background. She's one of twins, and her sister Mercy Pine, when they were 6 years old and living in Georgia, her sister was abducted, and Atlee Pine was almost killed by the person who abducted her sister, and no one's ever discovered what happened to her. So obviously that had traumatic impact on her life and really has driven her to do pretty much everything she's done in her life. But it's an unresolved mystery for her. So that first novel was Long Road to Mercy, and in A Minute to Midnight, she's back. And the book starts off with a bang. She visits a maximum security prison, is talking to a serial killer who she thinks might have been the one to abduct Mercy 30 years ago. She doesn't get any resolution from him. She leaves the prison, and on the way back to Arizona, where she works as an FBI agent, she gets an Amber Alert. This guy has snatched a little girl from a soccer match. She sees the guy, chases him, traps him in a box canyon in Colorado. They have a confrontation, which she wins, and then she does something unthinkable. Because in his face, his sneering countenance, she sees all the anger and fury of the last 30 years of unresolved, what happened to Mercy Pine, and she ends up nearly beating this guy to death. And the FBI frowns on that, obviously, and so she gets an ultimatum from them: figure out your past, get your head straight, get this worked out, or you have no future at the Bureau. So she and her assistant, Carol Blum, fly over to Andersonville, Georgia, where she lived when she was a kid and where this traumatic event happened. And she's got to immerse herself in her own past again to try to figure out if she has a future.
So while researching your new book, were there any inspirations while investigating all of these new agencies, like from the FBI or the CIA?
Well, a couple of things come to mind with this one is that I was one of the first, probably the first writer, at least they told me this, to ever use the acronym WIFLE in a novel. One of my other female characters, Michelle Maxwell, was a member of WIFLE. WIFLE stands for Women in Federal Law Enforcement. So because I'd used them in a book, they were so happy, they invited me to be a keynote speaker at their annual convention in DC. So I went down there, and I'm in a room with 1,000 women, and all of them are carrying guns. So I've never been that intimidated in my life. But I've spoken to and know quite a few female agents in various acronym agencies, and I know that it's still very much a male-dominated field, and for a woman to succeed and keep getting ahead, it is a trudge. It's a labor. They have to work a lot harder than their counterparts to get to the same level. And with Atlee Pine, I thought, I can show that. I can show how, it can be different from women. They can still succeed, but they have to do it, maybe at a higher level in order to get to the same spot.
Now, in movies, they make all kinds of mistakes when they're trying to do things right, how they hold a gun or the wrong insignia. Was there any kind of special details in your book that you tried to get it right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're very vocal about that. If you're a writer, do not ever write a book where a revolver has a safety. It never happened. Revolvers don't have safety, so don't do that. Yes, I work very hard trying to get it right. You can't get everything right all the time. I had one book where I wrote about a plane flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, and a pilot emailed me and said, I love the book, but you got that wrong. When you're flying that direction, you fly at odd altitudes. You fly the other way, you fly at even altitudes, but don't feel bad about it. Stephen King got it wrong in one of his books, too.
Tell me about going on book tours and meeting your fans.
It's terrific. I mean, at this stage of my career, I've written, 47 books. If I didn't want to tour anymore, I wouldn't have to. The books would still sell. But being out on tour allows me to get away from the isolation of spending so much time by myself and by writing, alone. I can get out there, and we're all part of a microcosm. The ecosystem of books are publishers, bookstores, readers, and the creators, the writers. So we all have to support each other. So I can't just sit back and never go out. I want to go out and support readers, meet them, get their feedback, talk to them, let them take their picture with me, sign their books. They feel good, I feel good. Bookstores, people come in to my events and they buy books, and that helps bookstores survive and thrive. Publishers who want to publish more books and have new writers coming up, they need to have outlets for their books to be sold. So we all have to support each other, and that's why book tours, I still do them.
So David, you've written 47 books. Tell me about the process of choosing the right cover.
Yeah, I am involved in all aspects of my publishing career, including the cover selection. We went through a lot of iterations on A Minute to Midnight. It started out looking nothing like it ended up. I wanted it to be, I'm into very simple graphics, but simple graphics that have a compelling message or symbol to them. I don't like a lot of stuff all over the book because I think it's very distractive and it just dilutes the impact and the message you're trying to send. So this book ended up having just a single figure sort of running in a house that's all dark except for one light on, and then sort of a hunter's moon off to the side, and that's it. And most of the book cover is my name and the title's name. At this point in my career, it's kind of like, okay, we'd like to have my name on there prominently so people know it's one of my books. But the graphic itself is, fairly simple, but because it's simple, it's also very powerful.
And tell me about the Wishing Well Foundation. It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, my wife and I founded it nearly 2 decades ago. We fund literacy programs and initiatives across the country and have done so for a long time and will continue to do so. We get about 5,000 grant requests a year. We fund as many as we possibly can. Our core mission statement is to eradicate illiteracy in the U.S., and that's what we intend to do.
Well, David, congratulations on A Minute to Midnight. And when you have a chance, come visit us in Las Vegas. We have a book festival here, too. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, I absolutely do. It's a great town. I've been there a few times on tour, and I definitely will do that. Thank you.
All right, A Minute to Midnight is now available on Amazon and fine bookstores all over. And for more reviews and interviews, just surf on over to my website at vegasfilmcritic.com. I'm Jeffrey G. Howard in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.